Today, I want to talk about twin flame relationships. And while I am not really an expert in this kind of relationships, because I don't really care so much about this concept, I actually feel like many people they are nowadays using this concept to describe their relationship. But actually, what is happening is that they are just using this label wrongly. Why? You see, in the past, after my divorce, I actually had a relationship that what many people would categorize as the twin flame kind of relationship. And we were really intense in our chemistry, as in we had this emotional connection, this physical connection, this spiritual connection, and this intellectual connection. Like when we met and we got together, there was this intense chemistry. There was this intensity that goes on that we felt as if we met the love of our lives. And then it was really so intense. But then, as the relationship progressed, actually, when the baggages, emotional baggages and past traumas, they were all starting to surface because, when we get closer to someone, our deep stuffs, including the less fluffy ones, they might come up. Then these were starting to clash and we were getting triggered by each other a lot. So what people usually they describe these twin flame relationships as is that they have this intense chemistry, intense connection. But then when it is really bad, it was also really bad, really intense, all the things, all the conflicts, all the triggering, etc., etc. And then there is also this dynamic of the runner chaser in which one person wants to fix things, want to work things out, and then the other person runs, and then when the other person wants to fix things, and then the other person might run, etc., etc. So I had this really intense relationship, and I can tell you that there was even this energetic connection that we could feel. It was really a deep connection. However, what I realized was that even though we had this intensity can actually be kind of misleading because while we matched in a lot of things, a lot of the feelings were actually because of the activations that we were actually bringing in each other. So what happened was that we were both, when we were entering into the relationship, we were both actually very emotionally hungry. Because for me, for example, for a while, when I was with my ex-husband, throughout all those 14 years, in which 7 years were marriage, I was feeling all this emotional hunger already because we couldn't really feel more connected in a deeper level. So even though we really loved each other, we couldn't really connect emotionally in a deeper manner. And so I was bringing in this emotional hunger in this new relationship. And the other person as well, he was actually very hungry in wanting to, find the one, find the love of their lives. So that when we both got into the relationship and we found out that we had all these compatibilities, as in we both were into personal development, we both have this chemistry that really is going on, then we really thought that this is it. We found the love of our lives. But then, as we got deeper, then real compatibility started to show up, which was actually not as much because we actually had this fundamental misalignment that we couldn't really be emotionally truly attuned to each other. Because, when you have this compatibility, you can naturally sort things out because you understand where each other comes from. You appreciate what each other finds as relevant, as important. But when there is this fundamental misalignment, then of course the traumas and relationship baggages also doesn't help. Then when one person starts to, have their needs not met, have their understanding not being seen, not being understood, then the other person not able to, value it and actually validate it, and they just dismiss it and not sure why it is important, it is not as important, then it creates this lack of emotional attunement because you inherently are not aligned. And then, because you already have all this attraction going on, now you're wondering, but we have so much chemistry and apparent compatibility. So why is it that it is not really working? And then you might try, you might put in the effort, but then the more effort you put, it seems that while some things might have improved, it still has a lot of conflicts that are hard to be together. And some might think, oh, maybe it's the communication skills that needs to be developed. But then when you're fundamentally mismatched, everything, every conflict is already in a harder level. So you are already starting in a near almost impossible level if you have a lot of baggage. Plus you have a misalignment. And then you have this kind of relational skills that you don't have. So you have to really level up a lot. But then because you are not aligned in terms of values, in terms of emotions, really in the fundamental level, you are already not really be able to meet each other, not really be able to understand where each other comes from and why you validate them. Because you don't really naturally validate them. You actually naturally dismiss it because you don't value the same values that they are valuing. So therefore you don't see the value in their values and vice versa. So many people, they got into these relationships that they think it's the twin flame relationship, but actually it's because their nervous system were already activated, and then they have this compatibility in terms of activating each other in the right buttons. So now you are thinking, we have all this intensity, but it is because you are actually very compatible in activating and pushing each other's wounds and buttons, but not so compatible underneath, so that you actually see with each other where they come from and have this real genuine connection, so that you don't need to actually put in the effort to empathize and have compassion, because you already, if you have this compatibility, then you will naturally feel more of this, and then more compelled and more at ease to work things out together. So many people, they are already activated in their nervous system, and then they are activating each other intensively in their nervous system. And that's why they think, oh, this is very intense and it feels very alive, very real. So this must be it. He or she must be my twin flame. But then it is not really the case. And it is just about activation, and you just met someone that you're really activating each other with. So I feel that this is my personal observation and opinion, really. Because again, I am not really studying this twin flame concept for much, because I don't really feel as relevant for me. But what I feel after studying extensively about relationships and also experience something like this myself is that we might be so compelled to call a certain relationship as a twin flame relationship, as meant to be and all, because of the intensity, while it is not really necessarily what truly shows that you are connecting deeper on the emotional level. So I hope that this information helps. And yeah, do let me know also what you think about it and what is your experience. If you have experienced and observed what feels like a twin flame relationship, and how do you feel about this concept as well. And I hope that you enjoy the contents of this channel. And yeah, stay tuned.